Um, Today, I would say in the last couple of days, I've been thinking about, well, I've always kind of thought out of the box, and I haven't really ever fit in, and that's okay. The more I've gone on in life to accept that instead of trying to make myself fit, the epitome of me trying to make myself fit was when I went to like these super conservative churches. They were called Mennonite, but they look like Amish, but they use electricity. No TV, no secular music, no musical instruments. You know, if you join them, you have to get rid of your piano. It's very ludicrous. That was the utmost of me trying to fit in somewhere. And I guess it didn't work, and I didn't join. But I did spend a lot of years there trying to conform to things that I shouldn't have. You know, I'm being placed in a predicament of spending all of the money on a lawyer who did not help me to even get a custody hearing, and I'm just now learning of that these are the things that she should have right away told me to get. And I am trying to get some free legal help from a domestic abuse shelter, which I'm not sure that's going to happen, but they said even to be eligible, I needed to fire my lawyer. So because of the money factor and the fact that she actually hadn't, $10,000 later, hadn't actually gotten anything accomplished for my benefit with the divorce/custody case, I am finding myself in this predicament of, what are you going to do about it? What, kind of like the why is something happening, but also this is happening to me. I'm not normal. I'm not your typical person who's just going to accept certain things. The stronger my belief in spirit, who is not a God of the Bible, the stronger my belief in spirit, the stronger my belief in perception of like my inner knowing, my intuition. It's like, well, I don't think this is a coincidence that this is happening to me. I don't think this is a coincidence that, the money is gone, the spouse like forced his hand and forced me out of the house, that the domestic abuse shelter couldn't even potentially help me until I fired my lawyer, that I did fire my lawyer, and that the domestic abuse shelter has been, like the one lawyer who works kind of for them has, is so overburdened with other cases, her own cases, that she hasn't even been able to speak with me. I don't regret firing my lawyer, but I was thinking about people who have, been free thinkers, people who in history, people who've left their mark, if you want to say. It was funny, I was driving today, and I think it was a bank, it was some kind of business, but it had an electronic billboard, so it was changing, but I happened to see it said "Leave your mark," and I almost think it had some kind of like a pinchy, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was a Scorpio, maybe a scorpion, something like that. But it really stood out to me. Like, it only flashed for a couple seconds, but I really feel like spirit was, I was already thinking about these kind of things, thinking a lot, meditating a lot. And when I saw the "Leave your mark," it spoke to me. Like, I'm not in this predicament for no reason. This is not a coincidence. Then I went to the thrift store, and there were a whole bunch of these. They were new. And I remember watching the movie. It was like The Cosby Show, youngest, I can't remember her real name, but it was The Cosby Show, youngest child. That actress who played Ruby Bridges in the movie that I saw, as a child. And I, picked up this book for $1 at the thrift store. But I knew the story, even when I just saw the title. And there was probably like 7 of these. They're new at the thrift store, and I just, I was thinking about, so this would have been like a little black girl who was, when the laws were changing. 3 black students went to a certain white school, and she was the only black student to go to a different white school, and she was only in 1st grade. And she she had a strong spirit. And, you know, if she had cowered and given in to the pressure that she would have been under to not rock the boat or not do this new thing, I know that she was Christian, and this book is pretty heavy with like the praying and, you know, the Christianity aspect. But I'm not a Christian, but I definitely am spiritual. You know, when we're put into like pressing and difficult circumstances, like, what are we going to do? Are we going to I didn't ever think it was right, but my lawyer was advising me the whole time in a contested divorce case to don't bring up the domestic abuse. The judge isn't going to want to hear that. And I remember thinking how wrong it was, but I recently came across some articles somewhere talking about litigation abuse and just different forms of abuse that come from either the spouse who perpetrated the domestic abuse and or propped up and continued by other people. And some of the examples given were like when lawyers, even your own lawyer who's supposed to be on your side against the perpetrator of domestic abuse, is trying to silence you, trying to get you to just kind of not rock the boat. And so I'm glad at this point that I fired my lawyer. Unless the domestic abuse shelter is going to start being able to be available to help me, and I would qualify for their help, which I would take, I plan on representing myself, and I don't see this as any kind of accident. You know, I don't know what will happen, but I feel like anytime that we look at history and we look at like when was someone willing to put something of value on the line to bring a change, I'm willing. What's it going to cost me? The things that it might cost me aren't money. It's not related to money. It's costing me a lot to keep paying the lawyer $400 and some an hour, and even just emailing back and forth with her would be $1,000, and nothing was really getting accomplished. So the way that something might cost me is not necessarily monetary. And sometimes the things that are at stake are much more valuable than money, much, much more. But I feel that when you are living in an environment where someone is a tyrant to you and oppressive, and there's a great tool by Demuth. I have it on my website. I have it under the links for advocacy, but there's different, it's like a wheel. But the power and control wheel, it's sort of like a pie shape, and around the outsides, if you want to say like the crust of the pie, is like violence and sexual, I don't know how it's worded, but violence and sexual violence, which is like, you know, using sex to control, like marital rape and things like that, or violence, which, you know, any kind of violence is used at, it's like the outside of the pie. Like, in other words, most abusers try to control you in different, if you want to say in lesser forms, but the violence and sexual stuff is used to like more as a last resort, more like, well, if you don't just comply, if you don't just let me, if you want to look at it as like, if you don't just let me bully you, boss you around, make you move out, make you not have the kids, make you this, make you that, then they will use violence, for example, to keep you in place. The courts, the way the courts are set up nowadays is it's 1 in 4 women who experience domestic abuse. It is primarily women because there is a large, you know, power dynamic. Like, men are typically stronger,